All right. And we are back again. This is part two, but I am still glad that I'm here with you guys. One, we're not doing a solo episode. We're doing a guest episode. And I am so happy to have this special guest with me here today. And I am even more excited to not be in my office alone talking to my computer. And as many of you have heard, I always talk about my social media manager, trying to make sure I get everything plugged in. And this time she is here in person. So I have to make sure that I do all of the plugs. Yes. So if you are not following us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, follow us on YouTube. That is where you're going to hear about all of our new episodes when we're having new things coming out. So if you're not following us, do that already. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. All of the links are always in my bio, guys. So we are going to jump into it. So I can't even say baby cousin because I don't feel like you're my baby cousin, but I do have my baby cousin, my daughter's Pyran, one of my closest cousins that I have grown up with our entire lives. I guess emphasis on the cousin. Yeah, like y'all bear with me. We are having a comfortable chat today, but I'm so happy to have my cousin. And then I just realized that we are both sitting on the same couch that we sat on 4 or 5 years ago when I was driving down to Houston, you guys, trying to heal from my divorce and being a crying mess. And now here we are, sitting on this couch, getting ready to put everybody on blast. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, we're not. Well, welcome, Jason, to the show.
Appreciate it. All those sentiments are very true. Glad you came down to Houston to do this podcast. I'm Jason Simeon, Jaleesa's first cousin. Our parents are our siblings, so her mom and my dad. So yeah, we pretty much grew up. We're 2 years apart.
Yes, yes, 2 years apart.
Yeah, we've been together since we were kids, spent Christmas holidays and done life together in Dallas. So the time that she came down to Houston was a very touching point in our lives, in our adult lives. We'll kind of capture and speak on that on the podcast. As she said and mentioned, she went through a divorce. I went through a divorce as well. And here to kind of share some of the things that I learned and some of the knowledge I have to share for the Women in Between podcast.
All the women in between.
Pause. You sound nervous.
You picked that up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm about to calm it down because what I was going to say is for all of the...
Just relax.
We're just having a chat. We're just having a conversation. And remember, everything is
Your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just being deleted. But what I was going to say was all of the women in between. I know that you're probably looking at Jason and you're like, Jalisa, are you going to put us on? And the answer is actually going to be no. Because Jason is not single. Jason is very shaken. So I'm going to make sure y'all aren't sitting in this episode waiting for these tidbits. Those are not going to be dropped. Okay. So I think a few of you might need to leave the room if that was what you were expecting. Yes, you are right. I did take a lot of time coming down here. And I think, for our audience, many of you know my story. And then you also know that there was a period of isolation. And I think part of that isolation was with you. We might have been isolating together.
Exactly.
Yes. So I'm happy that you are on the show. It has been a long time coming, and I appreciate you being in this space because you don't often get men feeling comfortable enough to share how they feel in this space.
That's true. So,
yes.
I appreciate you having me earlier, and I think you're doing a wonderful job with this journey that you're doing with the podcast, and hopefully it's being captivating and touching and, encouraging the people to get through whatever situations they're getting through in lives.
Yeah. And I feel like, for us, and I don't talk a lot about like my extended family on here, but for us, divorce was still very much new. I think I've mentioned, my aunts and uncles, most of them have been married 20, 30 years. So for us going through our divorce, I don't want to say it necessarily shook our family and we weren't necessarily the black sheep, but we had to figure out our own way of handling it and our own blueprint. And I think I handle it one way, right? Being a woman with 2 kids and navigating the co-parent world, but you were kind of in a much different situation. So I obviously know that some of the people closest to you know that. And all of our listeners on here, we're not necessarily about getting into people's business, but we are making sure that we learn lessons. So kind of tell the audience like your backstory, like where you were in your divorce, like what that looked like, because it did look a little bit different than what it looked like for me.
Yeah, so just to set the scene on that part. So I married to somebody from college, and we did the after college married life.
The thing.
Yeah, for 3 years, kind of checking the boxes through life. You know, you get your high school degree, you go to college, you find your person, get married, hopefully try to build a family. So we're making those steps, and different things happen as far as life events go. So that kind of shifted us to distance apart. We lived separate for a few years, and then led to the divorce to take place, which was challenging, as you know, but kind of got established here in Houston, had a house, no kids, which was good. So
Very good.
didn't have to kind of experience that part of the divorce process. But as many people may know, that's gone through a divorce or heard from other friends that are gone through divorces, like it's pretty draining, taxing experience. You see the true colors of the other person, and you get to learn a lot about yourself. So
Yeah.
I know I kind of dig deeper into going into my late 20s, early 30s, as far as learning myself, what I liked, what I didn't like, when it came to dating, when it came to working, when it came to my physical health, mental health, all those things kind of strengthened once I kind of got to divorce finalized and moved past that in my life. So
You hit something, and I feel like I heard that somewhere where they're like, you see the worst side of someone or the truest side of someone when you go through. But then, like you said, you get to figure out how you respond. But there's also this side of it to where, like, you know, your family's seeing you go through this experience, your friends are going through this experience, and there's this expectation of, okay, well, this is how this person is going to respond. And I know for me, what I thought the divorce journey would look like was completely different than what it actually ended up being. So what did you think that divorce journey was going to look like in terms of like the support you were going to receive, right? Versus what you actually got, just as a man.
yeah, as a man, I think it's like, I read this when I looked up some things during the divorce process. It's like 70% of divorces are initiated by the woman. So yeah, that was kind of interesting, but makes sense though, in a sense. So, but as you go through the divorce as a man, it's kind of like, all right, well, we're going to be split. You think like, yeah, I proposed to this girl, we're going to be together for a lifetime. Like I'm invested and committed, and then you get papers and get divorced. You're like, so what do I do here? Do I, try to figure things out on my own? Do I isolate myself? And it kind of has different emotions and tolls that go through it, which makes you wonder, this process we're going to be over with, can I get over this smoothly? I think that taking that time of kind of getting yourself together, talking to the right people in the related community, people think like, oh, it's an easy process. Just go there and file paper.
Yeah, you check all of the boxes and it's all paperwork and then you're done. Everybody kind of discounts the emotional side. But you said something I didn't know. I didn't know that it was 78% of women. I mean, grant.
Yes, 70%.
Well, 70% of women initiated or grant. I initiated mine too. So I guess I was a part of that. With that, were you blindsided?
I would say no in my situation, because we had already discussed that we were probably going to be getting divorced since we were separate. But I think I was blindsided by the fact that how they went about the divorce and didn't give me a heads up, which is probably, when you're in those situations, you're probably not going to get a notice that, hey, I filed. So I was sitting in my parents' office on email from my ex-wife, and I was like, oh, well, she's already filed. And I was trying to be in the process of filing. So, which made it kind of interesting. And I was like, well, this isn't going to be as smooth as people thought it would be or thought it could possibly be. So that was kind of one misconception folks had in my situation, which made me wonder and be like, okay, well, you get to see people's true colors and stuff like that. Like it's going to, hopefully a quick divorce, which is a misconception. It doesn't happen quickly.
No, it does not.
But during that time period, like you said, it's kind of a lot of different emotions, a lot of misconceptions. People don't know how to respond and check on you, especially as a man. It's kind of like, well, he must have something wrong,
If she's the one that's lying,
following,
then it has to be his fault. And why couldn't they make this work? And then I think there could be the question of why couldn't he make this work as the man? And isn't there pressure there? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
I don't think you have.
Was there pressure?
Oh, yeah, there was definitely pressure there from the other party's side. Like, well, you need to come to do these things or do these different things to make it work. Friends in my corner were like, it seems like you're done, like you're giving up on your marriage and relationship with this, and you just don't understand. Like it's at that point where we need to split and move on. So yeah, like those are other misconceptions for the man. And the process is like, hey man, like what have you tried? Have you gone couples therapy? Have you done this? Have you done that? So yeah, it's kind of tough once you get to that breaking point of going through a divorce. Our hope seems lost as far as mending that marriage, and it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts as a man. You feel like a failure.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh man, well, I screwed this up. And I know kind of in my life, like that hasn't really been something that has happened. Like I haven't faced adversity in that sense. Like you mentioned, like, you've seen our parents grow up and
so you don't know how to
years.
You don't know how to handle it when you see your own breakdown, and then there's this failure. But I know for me, there was almost kind of like, it's okay if you feel like a failure as the woman in this relationship. But for some men, especially in the divorce support groups that I were in, it was kind of like more of looking at it from the standpoint of like, well, what did you do to cause this? And can you prevent it in the future? And it's not to say like fault holds no gender, right, within a marriage. So I definitely get that. Oh no, I think you hit on something else where it's like, it's not as quick and easy as people think it is. And it's not as black and white as you think it is. And I think I've said this on this podcast, and I know we've talked about it. There's the paperwork piece, right? That's very tactical. That's black and white. You try to get that done. You hope everybody's not petty. But then there is the emotional piece that you have to heal from, and you're trying to deal with it. And you were very fortunate. I tell you this all the time, that you didn't have kids involved, because it adds another layer on a man, I feel like, to be a provider.
Right.
In a different way. But I don't know, Jason, that's a lot to handle still. The emotional side, you guys were very young. And then you're also dealing with the paperwork side of it, and that part not being easy. And I think that's one part that we haven't really talked a lot about on this podcast when we speak on divorce, and we talk about the emotional side, specifically with women and how they're healing through it. But I think for the man, there's a whole different side of it that no one talks about.
It is, like I said a few minutes ago, is that, we are the ones that's committing to proposing to this girl. Like, we're asking to take them in marriage and be with them for a lifetime, and like investing a lot of time and energy, and just stop it. Because I feel like, dang, I invested all this time in my life, all this, financial part of my life, all these emotions to be with this woman. And then, yeah, it kind of sits for you for a while, and getting over that can be, like, it's hard for some men. But talking to my parents, talking to cousins, friends, family, like, they'd be like, hey man, like, move on. Like, stop being held up on something that didn't work, go how you according to plan, how you wanted it to go. So that was definitely beneficial. Had a lot of good times with friends, a lot of times on people's couches, like we are here, open it up, hearing what they have to say, going to therapy as well definitely helps. And then just kind of finding the strength and the emotional, like, grit to get through it. So,
That's a very good word.
yeah.
I was curious, this is random. Do you think that you would have gone to therapy had it not have been for the divorce?
That's a great question. So I probably wouldn't have gone to therapy if it wasn't for the divorce. I think leading up to the official, get the notice of the divorce.
Yeah.
That's why I was like considering finding a therapist. It's like, dang, this is impacting my health, impacting my mental health. Could it also translate to work and like not feeling you're 100% self in the work environment, 100% self when you show up in group settings or family settings. That's what I really considered. It was like when that was off the brink of getting ready to be happening. But yeah, if I didn't have a divorce going on or in that situation of a kind of failed relationship, I wouldn't consider therapy. Right now, I definitely recommend it to anybody, even that's single. Like, there's still a lot you can gain and you can pick up from going to therapy, even if you're not faced with any sort of adverse situation in your life. So that's what the therapist. Her brother is a therapist as well.
Yeah, shout out to my brother. I feel like we always have therapists on the show, but I'm telling you, we just don't hear a lot of Black men talking about needing that space to open up. And honestly, like, I've been in that space with a Black man and felt like I was the only person in the room because they're not participating or they're not emotionally engaged. And I understand, like, as a Black man, you have to feel safe enough, you have to feel secure enough to even open up in that space. But for most women, we are not used to men on seeing the purpose of therapy, let alone willingly going into those environments. And I think that's something, and I'm not trying to direct this at men, even though it needs to be directed. I think it needs to go for anyone. Like, and we've talked about this, therapy gives you tools. And now I can say this as someone that has been married, and you have been married too, we probably can understand why it is critical to have someone to provide you with tools, especially as a man, because you said you started to recognize how it was impacting you mentally, emotionally, physically. But surely that couldn't have just been like, this is how my divorce is impacting me. Some of it had to be like, okay, I need to dive into, why did I choose this person? Why did I go into this marriage? Like, what did that look like for you as far as like what you needed to uncover in your process?
Yeah, there's a lot that went there because it's like, how did we end up here? Why did I end up marrying her? Like, how did I end up selecting her?
Yeah.
My mom actually told me before I got married, is like, this is something my grandmother had mentioned to her, was find somebody of your equal. I really, it's like, everybody wants to, be equally yoked.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about that when you came down here, and it's like, now it really sits in. So, like, find somebody with a similar background, some upbringing. I'm not saying that like you should find somebody that's a copy of how you were, live your life, but some time points and similarities that kind of get you through those hard times where you see the trauma from the past and different situations that they experience in life that you never experienced in life.
Yeah.
And you can't really vote against it, and trying to make that work can be a toll and taxing. So, working through that and like saying, hey, in my next relationship, I'm looking for those type of traits and people that can check those boxes in regards to similar bringing somebody that's of my equal, so to speak.
I remember you saying that, of my equal, and nothing, I don't even like look at that in a negative way. And I think it does align with like being equally yoked. But then you think about when you were what, 23, 24?
Yes, 25. It's
24, 25. I was 25 when I got married and had Harper. And you think, because you've gone through all of these experiences, we were talking through about that today, you've gone through college and you've gone through this, that surely you are the same person and you have the same value. That's how I was. I was like, I need to vet this man out because we went to the same church and I know his family and we were raised together and we've gone through all these similar experiences. But I feel like it's when you start branching off and you have the option to make your own decisions that you really start to see someone.
It's very true. Very true. That life events happen too. Like, you get to see this person on their own, like how their life, how they spend their money, how is he acting around other people, like, what are their drives and goals outside of being in a constructive or structured type of approach with school or church. So yeah, you get to kind of really see the real person as an adult. And like I said, we got married very young in our 20s. So now that we're older, I think we are kind of being more intentional when we're dating and talking to people, more intentional with even just our relationships with people in our circle we meet around the world or around, our work environment. So I think you definitely learn from our experiences to kind of apply that to not only dating, but outside of that to your friendships and relationships you carry with people.
Exactly. So now let's talk about, because I feel like one of the things that you and I really did a good job, like holding each other accountable, but encouraging each other with, is being able to uphold the image and love that we have for ourselves versus what others have for us, right? Like being true to what we needed and what we wanted versus what maybe society or our family thought we needed, and not being afraid to come against the grain. And so just for the audience, I think when you go through divorce, people expect you to handle it in a certain way. They might expect you to start dating immediately. They might expect for you to not start dating immediately. They may expect for you to take up a lifestyle where for me it is solely like, you need to be solely focused on your kids and you don't need to experience anything else. And so there can be judgments with how someone should handle what I like to think is like a new chance at life in some ways. And so what did that look like for you? You can let the audience know. I already know.
Yeah. Everyone's gonna have their opinions and thoughts about, how you handle a certain situation, especially a difficult one like a divorce. So navigating that is kind of like, hey, give me the space to navigate this. So you're not the one that's in the heat of this divorce emotional standpoint. So given that setting boundaries, and you always told me that growing up, like setting boundaries. So during that process, like setting those boundaries and saying, hey, this is different situations from probably when you were going through your marriage or seeing other people go through divorces in your life. Like, so they kind of set those boundaries and being clear and open with them helps out a lot. But it still takes a toll and attacks of like how people think you should go about handling, how you should respond. But there's some positive things that come out of it too. But it can definitely eat up at you, especially as a man. It's like, don't let her make a fool of you and stuff like that. And things like that were gonna be upset. It's just like, yeah, I'm not trying to let that happen. Like I'm trying to move on from this situation. Like I want to progress and move on with my life and things like that. But that being said, it's just like people are gonna have their opinions, they're gonna have their thoughts and like project what they think is going on or how you should feel. And I thought that was the biggest thing. It's like people tell me how they think I should feel.
Yes. Oh my gosh, they do. Like you should be as hurt or you should be able to move on and at least it should be this and at least oh my goodness. It's like the projection.
Yeah. So but after you get all through that and kind of can show and people can see like, oh yeah, he's moved on. Like it's kind of people don't sit on the rug, but they just say, okay, he's healed. Sometimes we haven't fully healed.
Yeah, that is true.
And then people also put that prediction onto you too. It's like, oh, he's been through a divorce. Or, oh, she's been through a divorce. She hasn't healed from that completely. All right. She's still dealing with
yeah.
This is happening because, oh, he's been divorced. This might be something that happened in the past.
So you surely can't be ready to move on. You surely can't be ready to do good. When I tell you, so many people try to clock where I am in my healing journey. It makes me wonder, were you in the room when I was married? And when I checked, I don't think I saw anybody there. And so it's like, you can't put a time frame on how long someone should heal or what stages they need to go through for you to see. Because so much of our healing, like you say, it was happening in isolation. I think half the time I was coming to Houston, no one knew coming out here.
Right.
Granted, I think I just travel like that now. I think there is something to be said, like you, and I am going to say, I think for the audience, if you are not on this in this season of life, but you're supporting someone in this season of life, you cannot force that stage. And you can't force them through stages, nor can you dictate through stages. Because for a lot of people that were going through their divorce, and I think that was the case for both of us, a lot of the heartbreak that we were experiencing wasn't after we were telling people that we were going through a divorce. It was happening through the confines of our marriage. And no one knew. So that healing process could have started a year, 2 years before anyone knew we had filed. So it's like you have no idea when someone has started their grieving process. So, I know I can speak from a woman's perspective, but I think it applies generally is offering that level of support. Like I came here, you didn't ask me a ton of questions. You weren't trying to figure out when happened what or where I was. You weren't trying to dictate where I was in my healing journey. I just had a safe place to simply.
And it goes back to what you said about the therapy comments about being in a safe place for men. Like you said, it's hard to find those safe places for men to put their guard down and be vulnerable and open up to folks. So I'm glad I'm blessed to have you and other cousins and some close friends that I trust that I can confide with and, be vulnerable, open up. So definitely having that support system is very helpful.
Yeah, it is.
And also build the relationships too. Like my men's group here in Houston, Oklahoma State guys, like we have all different types of folks in that group. So people that's been divorced, people that's married, kids, people that's single, and have a great time in Houston being hot boys. So enjoy their best lives. You get to see a different perspective still of the men's group. Well, all of us are successful in the same state of life.
Yeah.
At the equal phase of being successful in our careers, doing life the right way and under our impressions and like keeping each other accountable.
Yeah.
So, which is great to have. I never would have had that relationship given the fact that they knew I was going through a divorce. So, and other friends of ours that went to OSU are going through divorces too. So I think that was like some of the things that helped form that group to be holding each other accountable and to not for, men to be vulnerable.
Yeah, to have that space. I didn't do that either. And I know I've talked about that too, where I had to get in my own divorce support group and like just, I think it's something about like representation. Like you need to see other people like you going through that life stage to know that you're not alone and you can speak to that experience. Because I don't know, it might have been the same for you, but when I went to my first divorce support group, that was the first time that I felt seen and heard when I was talking about my divorce experience. And it is not to say that like my family didn't care or anything, but like you can only resonate with what you've walked through in some scenarios. And so it was great for me to see like, oh, so some of you guys might have been through 2 divorces and you're doing okay. And like even having the leaders or experiencing positive life experiences with these people that were going through something similar to me. So did you kind of feel like you got this better layer perspective by seeing more people going through a similar experience?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mainly because everybody's experiences are different, and
Especially in divorce.
yeah,
It's like a Skittles bag.
it's crazy. It is crazy. So, but just like knowing like the emotional toll, like you said, you saw people that had 2 divorces, like how strong they are, still striving and doing well after that experience twice. Like those things are kind of motivating and encouraging. I think it kind of bounces off of each other. When I talk to my male friends in the Houston area, or my male friends in general that have gone through divorces around the same time, or going through divorces around the same time, it's like, oh man, I didn't know I fully understand what you were going through, but now that I'm like in it,
Yeah.
resonate with you and connect with you. I'm like, yeah, man, it's gonna hurt. Like it's gonna be a very hurtful process, but there's gonna be great times with it too. Like I mentioned, just having that voice to be heard, your voice being heard by somebody, is helpful for me.
Yes.
It's fixed. Now I got a lot of information from folks that have never been married before too, and it's not it's helpful for them as their relationships and can kind of
Okay.
see and pick up on. Oh well, yeah,
Things that you need to really think about. Because sometimes I do feel like people will look at like the divorced people and we're kind of like, I don't know, like the weird people in the corner at the dance.
right.
And it's like, yeah, we might seem to be your worst nightmare, but also at the same time, we have some lessons. Ooh, don't discount us.
Exactly.
And I get it. Like I actually used to speak life into that thought. Like I used to speak life into the fact that like, God did not fulfill my marriage when in reality, like, no, he did. The fact that you were sitting in this space right now, that is fulfillment.
Yeah.
So but, like, we're not all like sad. Like we have things to say.
Exactly.
Clearly.
Yeah. Become better people because of what's
Much better. And that's what I was going to ask you, because you were talking about like therapy has been a really great space for you to heal in. I know it has been critical. And sorry, when you were married, did you go through therapy?
No, we didn't. I didn't do it individually or a couples therapy, but definitely we're trying to offer that. I was like, hey, let's try like try to make it work. Like you're not trying to give up on a marriage and give up on something that you try to build with this person. So it kind of wasn't in the cards for us to go to couples therapy, and didn't seem like a feasible thing that was going to happen. So kind of gave up on trying to pursue it.
You cannot drag anybody in it. Take that as somebody that tried to drag somebody in it and it didn't work. I'll never forget whenever like our therapist had given me and my ex-husband a survey, and we had to fill in like, how likely do you think that therapy is going to help your marriage? It was on a scale from 0 to 10. Guess what number he put?
0.
No, he put a 2.
A 2. Okay.
I hate that for me. But like you can't force anybody. Yeah, you can't force anybody into it. But therapy was one thing. I did not know that you took up running the way that you did. Tell the people about the marathon.
That is a good point.
Yes.
One physical activity that I did to clear my mind going through this mental roller coaster was running. So I would start off running with some coworkers of mine. We were kind of having a competitive, like, and God, it's crazy how God puts like people in your lives and certain situations where you can, connect people. Cool group of guys. So we were being competitive. We were doing half marathon. So, all right, 13.1 miles. That's kind of more than 5 miles in my life. Play a lot of basketball, and that type of running. We would go in the neighborhood, run 3 miles like every Tuesday and Thursday, and then got hooked. And I was like, this is such a cleanse. Like I feel like mentally I'm clear, physically I'm clear. I'm ready to start like this. And I just stuck with it. That was back in, I don't know, 2018 maybe. So I started running. My first marathon in 2019, or half marathon in 2019. Yeah, but.
Well, I was going to ask, so was this before or was it after you got Duke?
My dog. Oh yeah, that was one emotional. Yeah.
Oh, bless your heart. Sweetest little baby. I'm gonna make sure I put a post. Well, I'm just trying to understand because, right, like you were going through what I was going through, right? You were dealing with some of the emotional abandonment piece. So you were, I was probably emotionally by myself. You were emotionally and physically by yourself. So I know you had do, but then you were also running to kind of get your mind off of things. But I couldn't remember the order of things.
So the running started first.
Okay.
And Duke came second.
Okay.
So like you mentioned, I physically, emotionally I was isolated here by myself. So it was just funny because we can talk about the Duke story too. So I got a bully. He's actually pictured over here. So RIP to Duke.
He is my friend. Yeah, we love that.
So I got him from a buddy from college. It actually went to college the same time I was there with my ex-wife. But anywho, got the dog from Oklahoma, brought the dog home, never had a dog in my life. My parents told me about the dog.
Oh gosh, I love that. I love the fact that like they started off giving you a hard time and absolutely fell in love with him.
Yes, which is so true.
Oh my God. Yeah, but please keep going.
But Duke became their grad dog, and they loved him. They would like take him and watch him on trips and everything. And so, yeah, they grew to love him. So they got pictures around their house of Duke. We talk about Duke all the time. Great dog to have in that phase. And it actually helped with the relationship with my parents and like setting the boundaries, having those open conversations, being able to kind of go through that process without having any projections onto my situation, and like, okay, we're here for you, we're here to support you. Like, you get a dog, and I actually bought the dog and fell in love with the dog, and so yeah, I think that was a good piece along with the writing to kind of help get through the phase of marriage and divorce at that time.
I shared this where we talk about earthquakes. Like a divorce can be a life quake that is essentially like this catalyst of change, and it can really, because you're trying to cope and get yourself out of this, it completely changes how you really manage a lot of your relationships, whether it be for a season. It's so funny because I feel like I did the same thing. I had a cat, which
Teresa's always had cats. Well, since she graduated college, but she got multiple cats at one point, right?
I had multiple cats. I had 2 cats at one point. One of these days when we talk about boundaries, I will have to talk about creative ways to set boundaries for people. And we're going to leave our cat story right there. But, I did the cat thing, and it was very similar. It was my emotional support animal because the kids would go with their dad and I would be home by myself. This is before I was in the streets. Yeah. So I would just be home with my cat. Like that one Christmas that I stayed home from Houston.
Yeah.
It was me, my cat, a charcuterie board, and champagne. Don't feel shame for me because me and Moose were lit. But I did the cat thing, and then I even did something like with Hotworks, right? Yeah. Like got on that kick, and I would say I think being physically fit completely changed how I saw myself, because your mind's just breaking, or what is it? It's like neurological orders. Like you have to have a different neurological experience, something like that.
Yeah.
I'll find it. I'll put that in the show notes, y'all. Yeah. It's also getting very late. But I do think like the physical activity piece requires you to be in a mental headspace to release things.
Even like with the running, like, something that you don't think you can accomplish. It's like a taxing thing, like, well, I'm gonna get it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's like, once you do it more, I'm gonna get through this. It's gonna be a marathon, it could be, or it could be a sprint and happens quickly or not quickly, which no, they don't. But yeah, just that mental exercise, like you said, kind of physically.
Yeah.
To your physical toughness and then our mental toughness, which is there.
And it has to be that trifecta. I think that one of the things that I've been very grateful, and I think I called you about it, maybe it's messing up, but I was like, I feel like we just really ended up on the right side of this whole thing when it's like you go through the divorce and it almost kind of like shocks you, because I think we were both like not only learning about ourselves and then learning things about our families and learning things about our spouses. And, for those, like, obviously, my story and the emotional abandonment that you can deal with and the impact, but being able to have somebody to share that experience with and then to heal in your own way and stand firm in that. Because like you said, there's so much pressure. One, like for men, I didn't think about the pressure, like don't make her look like a fool. Because it's very true.
Very true.
And the defensive, almost the defensive nature that you have to take to protect yourself, and balancing that, like there's still so much pressure.
Yeah.
And so many people trying to, some will project and try to push a narrative on you too.
That is true. That is true.
And you have to, I realized with my divorce made me have a backbone. I'll say that.
Yeah, I would say mine made me have a tougher backbone as well. Like I said, I know who I am as a person. You know, people know who I am as a person, generally know me and stuff.
Oh, that's true.
Going through that experience, like don't let it impact you to be a negative and make it seem like
Don't make it let you be, well, I think we were talking about being bitter.
bitter. Yeah.
Because, I mean, for you, like, it's so good that you didn't have kids. Y'all know I love my kids. I'm not even, but it is because you have the opportunity to, one, like, cut a clean slate, take your time to heal, and because you weren't focused on being bitter. And I think we hit on that because it will hold you back from like finding, you know, whether it's somebody or just happiness, right? It doesn't have to be a different person. If you're sitting here, if you are still clocking that man's moves, sis, please stop. Like, you can't hold on to that.
Yeah. Or even as a man, like if you're still holding a grudge against her,
I
you
know.
know, then we'll hold that grudge and put up a fight and be petty to us.
Men are petty too.
Yeah. So I tried to avoid that at all costs in my situation, just given the fact that I knew that, you know, hey, I'm a great guy. The right thing. And it was good to end this marriage with this person.
Yeah.
Move on. But the back and forth stuff, like I wasn't standing for that, putting up with it. And like I said, folks told me don't let her make full of you by trying to get you to get under your skin. Like,
Yeah.
it's a backbone, stick to your morals, stick to who you are as a person, and you'll come out the better and it'll all work out. So you'll find somebody else that'll love you and support you.
Period.
Those things were like good sentiments that came when we were kind of finalizing our divorce.
Yeah.
So it helped me out quite a bit as a man.
I know.
So
It's like you choose the high road because, you know, it is going to come back to you tenfold. And then you do the work of healing and being able to identify where you need to heal, which I think has made it so successful for you. So yeah, obviously I'm always going to plug therapy. I need to figure out how to get some sort of partnership with BetterHelp. But I think there's movement. I'm always going to say movement because I think it completely saves your life. And then you hit these goals. And then I think, especially for a man, finding the safe places.
I think we covered like a lot of ground.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Rapid fire questions. Cause are you gonna say the rapid fire questions? I'm going to say the rapid fire questions. Kim has sent me these. Yes, it is me. Ooh, this is a good one. I mean, I know this answer, but the audience doesn't know this answer.
I'm curious.
Okay.
These questions also.
I know. I'm just seeing them, so I'm not ahead of you too much. Okay, so what is your favorite sport?
Yeah, it's basketball.
Why basketball? Let the people know.
Yeah, grew up playing basketball my whole life. Played high school basketball. Played with some people that played NBA too. So anyway, big basketball fan. That's why my dog's name is Duke, because Duke basketball. So yeah, it's my favorite sport. Still watch to this day. Sorry that the Mavericks trade Luka. Crazy work.
It very much so. On a Saturday night too, it's wild. But you know, it's so funny because when people talk about select basketball, I always think about you. And I remember, like, if me and my brother were going to spend the night, so like for the audience, like we kind of grew up like maybe 45 minutes down the road. And so we would spend the night with Jason, but we knew if we were spending the night with Jason, our Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be at those tournaments all day, every day. It is no joke. Okay. Ooh, here we go. These are good. What is something you can't live without?
I would say for my family.
Wow. I'm just going to say Gatorade.
No, this is
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale and Gatorade. So that's how I beat COVID. But that's bad. Cut that out. But no, she got a funny point there with the Gatorade. So growing up, like she said, we spent a lot of time together in the Dallas-Fort Worth areas. My parents always had a gallon jug of Gatorade consistently since I was about 3 years old all the way until I was in high school and out of their house. So yeah, that's always the running joke that I can't live without Gatorade. But yeah, I definitely can't live without my family and super close friends in my life. I talked about on the show for this episode.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. I love that. That's one of my favorite things about you, your family. And yeah, your dad's that way too. It's so sweet. Okay, what is the food obsession you currently have?
It's a great question. You know,
So much good food here.
it is true. Well, we just had a great Sunday dinner.
We did have a good dinner. Yeah, that's true.
It's a big sandwich wave right now. Like I have to have a sandwich for like I go to Solaski's, Jersey Mike's, this new sandwich place.
And
I found out about Tony's. It's like the #1 rated Yelp
yes,
restaurant in the country. Like I'm like
a sandwich cake. I love that. I haven't shot these in forever. Yes, mine is waiting for me. That's what I'm gonna have on the road. I'm so excited. Do you have any regrets? I feel like we're now at an age, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we're now at an age where we can genuinely answer this question.
Agree with that. I would say, not to say my marriage was a regret. You married at that age, besides that probably shouldn't have followed through with it. I think that was a learning experience. Like I think all regrets you have, you take it as a learning experience.
Were you saying like the red flags that you didn't notice?
That I did notice and thought I could work through. Mm-hmm. And those are.
And you really thought that you could.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, now.
I know we're going back into the.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my goodness. I know that's okay. That's very fair. Okay. Do you have a favorite hobby?
One hobby, I would say running a second. And then third, I would say it's toss up. Probably.
Okay.
I guess traveling too. Do a lot of traveling.
Yeah, do
swap out for number 3. We're always on the move and on the go, which is also very fun with the person I'm with because we both like to do that. Previous, ex-wife didn't like to travel, do too many things. So.
I know that's right. And it's almost probably like freeing.
Yeah.
Because it's like all of the things that I want to do, I can do without feeling horrible.
Right. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand that. So many hobbies. You said golf? I'm kind of like that too. I'm always like, what else can I do? I feel like every guest that has been on this show is multifaceted. They do everything right. Yeah, a little bit of everything. So that falls. I need to get a lineup of all of our songs, like all of our horoscope songs. Okay, so the next one, best country you visited.
Oh yes, that's an easy one. Belize. Went to Belize last year.
Was this for one or Spain?
Yeah. I'm not sure if y'all heard that, but yeah, Belize is definitely my favorite country as of now, just because it's very laid back. People are super friendly.
Chill.
Still a lot of things to do activity wise. Great food.
What did you like that you ate there?
So several different fish dishes that they had. They had these things called like flapjacks, which was like a fried pancake. That was so delicious. I was like better than any pancake or French toast or complex carb. But yeah, I think it was just very laid back. I wouldn't go there like to turn up with you.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I know
Bay.
We have Go with Your Bay, yeah, or like a girls trip.
Mm-hmm.
Or a girls trip. We have some travelers on here that I think would really appreciate that. But that's okay. So then, what is one thing you want to scratch off your bucket list? I feel like, do you have a long bucket list?
I think my bucket list consists of experience. I think that would not be on my bucket list. It's on probably other people's bucket list. Like skydiving, that's not.
I was just about to ask. I don't think you've done skydiving. Okay, so then what is something that's on your bucket list that you want to do?
I guess snorkeling, not snorkeling, but scuba diving.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
He's on there. And I'm trying to get scuba diving certified and everything too, but got kind of scared away.
Oh yeah, you do have to get a few hours.
Yeah, do some of the testing and things to qualify for it, and also medical concerns. But yeah, it's still on my bucket list of something I want to do. I've been snorkeling before. Going scuba diving would be
all of the things. The cousin that does all of the man of many talents.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, these questions were actually really good. Some of these I really did not know. So I'm happy that we did these. And I'm also happy that you finally came on this podcast after almost a year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You guys, I'm just so appreciative, that we get to have these conversations. And obviously, this is such a great opportunity on the podcast to be able to do something in person. I wish you really could have seen the behind the scenes of us trying to get these wires together.
We got it to work.
We got it together, but I'm always so grateful for these moments. This was on our wish list for 2025. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have not done so yet, I always think these conversations are really good opportunities for you to take the time, think about your own journey. If you're on this journey, about to be on this journey, just got off of it, go through and take the Seasons of Life quiz, see where you are, see where you want to be, and we can provide some steps on where we want to get to. So that link is going to be in the bio. Do you want to plug? I have a few ideas of what you should be plugging.
I know.
And I know that this one over here might have a few ideas of what you should be plugging.
So it's crawfish season. And
I will make sure this gets posted during crawfish season.
so, yeah, if you need an event catered for crawfish, I kind of started an event or a company actually 3 years ago, called Sunny's Cajun Crawfish, or in the Houston area, but we travel everywhere. We did a bowl in Dallas last year. So, yeah, if you need catering, want some crawfish that tastes pretty good, reach out to Sunny's Cajun Crawfish.
So good. I think I was eating crawfish every weekend last crawfish season, between coming to Houston and then Jason coming to Dallas and doing some stuff for some people in Dallas. I am going to have to agree. Follow. I'll make sure that the links are here. This is good. This is super chill. I'm super happy that we did this. And I'm so happy that we were able to put this out here for you guys to just learn, engage more. I want to hear about what you took away the most. And I don't know why, but like, what is your biggest regret is sticking out to me. So I'm curious. I'm like, what is your biggest regret? And how are you thriving from it? And I need to ask myself that question. So I will see you guys next Friday. Thank you. What'd you think?
Appreciate it.